In today's episode, I'm speaking with Tina Lopez, an online entrepreneur and content creator who's mastered the art of automating her content, traffic, and income using no-code AI tools. Tina shares her journey, her favorite tools, and practical tips for implementing AI in your business. No tech background required. Let's get started. Welcome to Using AI at Work. I'm your host, Chris Daigle. Each week, we'll be learning how today's business owners, entrepreneurs, and ambitious professionals are getting more done with smart use of tomorrow's tech. Let's get started. Tina, this interview has been a long time coming, so here we are. Before we get started, why don't you take a second and just let everybody know a little bit about who you are and what you're doing in the AI space?
So hello, everyone. My name is Tina. I actually help content creators automate their content, traffic, and income, leveraging no code, AI, affiliate marketing, and email marketing. So I'm super excited to talk to your audience about this today.
I think that you're going to have an audience that's going to be able to follow this. We've got a lot of marketing interested individuals that are listening to this. So you mentioned no code. All the other stuff, I think that a lot of the listeners, the terms you use, they'd be familiar with it, but no code might be a new one for them. Do you mind just taking a second to bring them up to speed?
Yeah. So no code is actually pretty it's in its name, no code. So think of it as you have two types of individuals. You have, let's just say, the person who is a coder. Maybe you're familiar with that. They sit down, write lines of code, and usually when you think of code, you can think of either building websites, doing automations, things like that. But when I think of no code, I think of me being the participant who's able to get the same outcome as a coder, but without actually writing the lines of code myself. And I think if you're someone who wants to be able to build a website, build an automation, but you are too scared because you don't know coding, then no code is going to be your best option, because I don't know how to code at all, but I definitely know how to leverage no code tools to do what I want.
Interesting. So you don't have a heavy tech background to be able to do what you're doing now?
Not at all. To be honest, I think, I don't know if this is a popular platform anymore, but way back in the day, I used to be on Tumblr, and I did a little bit of HTML, but I just know the paragraph, the bold, those types of little pieces, but I don't know anything beyond that.
So what led you to using no code in your AI efforts? What was the scenario that brought you there?
So when AI started picking up, I would say steam, I feel like AI almost kind of had a boom, in the sense of you didn't hear anything about it at all. And then all of a sudden it was just talked about everywhere, right? So it's this boom effect. I was very cautious to even consider using AI in my business, because I was like, you know what, is this going to be a trend and it's boom, then bust? I don't want to go through this, this hassle, right? And it's actually funny, I was sitting in my living room and I was just thinking about it. I was like, oh, this is I know what AI can do. But I was like, I'm a big tool user of Zapier, which is a no code automation tool.
Yep.
And so I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I wonder if you can use AI in Zapier, right? And I was like, I don't know if that exists, right? So I went quickly to Zapier and their integrations page, and I was looking up, I was like, oh, ChatGPT. I was like, oh shit, ChatGPT
there it is
integrated. Yeah. And then I was like, oh wait, OpenAI, oh, even better. It is integrated. And then that was literally the light bulb switch, in the sense of oh God, this is going to be great, to the point that I'm going to use it to the max, because AI has allowed me to reduce labor costs, in the sense of thinking time. It allows me to create content faster, and it's completely automated because I'm leveraging Zapier to do all the workflows. So truly I can call upon AI at any point in time. But the best part, which I think people, if you're not a no code user, you should definitely be, is I actually don't have to sit down and write the prompt. I can use Zapier to send prompts and get the feedback to implement to the rest of my workflow within seconds.
This is a very fortuitous timing, because we happen to be internally going through a lot of heavy duty automations builds. And the results that we have gotten from that, I can't wait to hear your content creation platform, and I'll gladly share ours with you as well. so it's fascinating that the AI itself, like leveraging the models for ideation or copy or whatever, is cool.
Mhm.
But when you layer in what you're doing, it's like it's rocket fuel. It's
Yeah.
incredible. So, what was your first, like, I guess what was your first build then once you found out that you could do this?
So I am a content creator, right? So I know the struggles of what it takes to be a content creator. I also know, you know, what are the things that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And one of the things that I see happen a lot with content creation is just the sheer amount of content you need to create in order to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
recognized on any social media platform is kind of ridiculous, but it's also kind of like not realistic in terms of like you can't be mentally healthy and create content to that scale as one person. I feel like it's not realistic. And
Agreed.
so the first thing that I decided to do was like, okay, how can I automate my repurposing, right? And so I actually have something that I created. It took me about a year to decide to create this
Mm-hmm.
because I was hesitant about AI. But I have something called a daily content generator. It's a $9 workflow that I created for my audience and for myself. But I tested this workflow for about a year before I even decided to sell to my audience. But basically, what this workflow does is I have a whole like content database. This has like, I'm a blogger, so I
Sure. Yeah.
write like tons of articles. And so, it's kind of a shame to like not leverage
Yeah.
that content
Yeah.
and like reuse it again. So what I do is that what this automation does is it randomly grabs a piece of content from my database and I'll basically send API calls or call upon ChatGPT
Yeah.
or OpenAI and I'll say, "Hey, AI, like take this content and create a Twitter post for me, or take this content and create a YouTube like the pieces of a YouTube shorts for me." And then I have other automations, actually create the video and then post it to YouTube, right? And what that allowed me to do is it allowed me to make sure that my content is not going stale because like,
Yeah.
if you create content once and then it's gone, then like it's kind of like
A
it's
lot
very
of work.
short. Yeah, very
Yeah.
short lifespan. But it also, since it's a daily content generator, it allows me to actually create content every single day without actually having to show up live on social media. I still cater to the algorithm because I'm still posting as much as it needs me to be, but I'm actually not the one who's doing it myself. I'm letting AI do it. And the interesting fact is that like when the way that I've leveraged AI so it doesn't sound like it's AI is like
Yes.
I put like because I write all my content within the articles like truly myself, like that is the source content piece, right? So my prompt generally looks like as here's the content, put all of the content in one prompt, which is my blog articles, my style, my form, nothing's AI written in that. And I'll tell AI, say like, hey, take this content and create a Twitter thread for me. And it's interesting because it actually picks up like my tone and my language from what I'm writing as like the source content. And it will actually create a Twitter thread, a caption. And I'm like, wow, like this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like it's AI, if that makes sense.
It does. We've had a few examples. A recent guest was Jeff Hunter, and
Mhm.
Jeff has a program called AI Persona Method. That was the first time I had seen synthetic content that was human like, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's been it. Anybody can go in there and say, write me an article or whatever. But if you use the models enough, you have a very fine, like you can tell very easily, like, okay, they didn't write this. They just and if that's the perception, people, my immediate assumption is it's not even worth me reading, right? Because
Mhm.
there's no authenticity to that content.
Mhm.
However, I agree with you 100% that to have uh, a a footprint in social requires a lot of effort. If you're doing it
Yeah.
by yourself, then that needs to be your full-time job. If you can use the tools, makes it so much easier. But then you run into this thing like authenticity versus synthetic. And so I'm very interested to kind of dive in on how you've fine-tuned it and to what degree. And what I mean by that is, like with Jeff, his output, I would say, was 99%, needed
Mm.
not much. The best
Mhm.
that I can get is about maybe 85% of what the output is
Mhm.
good to go, but I still need to go in there and
Mhm.
give it some soul, some authenticity, right? How calibrated would you say your uh, content voice is with the models?
So I would say, like, I can't give it per se like a percentage, but I will say
But
I
you see
do
what I'm
very
going for, right?
yeah, yeah, I get what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
going for, but like I go like I very minimally touch it, right?
Nice.
Because the great thing about it is that because it's using my like literally like I'll have a blog article, right?
Yep.
And I'll say like the blog article is written for me and I'll say take this content. So it'll read like I'm imagining the AI reads through the
Okay.
content and like spin it off into a caption or however it does. And it
Gotcha.
picks up like certain words that I'm using within the blog article that I like as a human wrote to the point where
Yes.
like it doesn't need a
Okay.
ton of fine tuning personally. I think it's good enough. Some
Yeah.
people may have higher standards than I do,
But you're
but like,
repurposing. It's not
yeah,
creating. It's
yeah,
okay. That's the distinction. Okay. Yeah, that makes a
yeah.
lot of sense. Okay, cool. So what are some of the are you working what is a no code project you're working on at the moment?
Okay, so a no code project that I'm working on at the moment, and I'm actually like so close to figuring this out,
Nice.
is like it's funny because you always think that's gonna take like, oh, I could get it done in one session, but
Right.
then you're like, ugh, like I need to reach out to support or whatever.
Yeah.
So a no code project that I'm working on is how to take short videos and post it automatically to all social media platforms without any of my like I hate scheduling and like actually
Yep.
sitting down and scheduling content. So what I've done is like, okay, like there are all these platforms, but to post on everything is ridiculous. So I'm using a combination of Zapier, Make. I also hired someone to help me with like a little bit more advanced API calls and stuff like that because I couldn't
Yep.
figure it out. And it's okay to ask for help. But
Yep.
basically, I want to take a short video of mine. I house all my data into Airtable. It's a database platform.
Yep.
And so basically, this has a whole schedule where like every day my automation is going to pull from that database, take the video, post it to YouTube Shorts, Twitter, LinkedIn video, Pinterest video is the goal, and TikTok video, Instagram Reels, Facebook Shorts, like literally all the social media platforms. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying so hard to get this automation to be done.
So let's walk through this for the listener. The
Yeah.
source material, it is the video itself being generated by AI, or is it an actual video that you've shot?
It is a mixture of both. So I actually shoot the video, but I tend to do more of like faceless videos. So
Okay.
in the sense of like you have short videos, I just basically like take a picture, like let's just say of like my walk, right? And I've realized the content that performs well is the content that's results-based content. So like, I make money through affiliate marketing and digital products. And I always like to create like content that's like challenging, I would say, the status quo, right? Like a lot of people think, for example, you need a large audience in order to make tons of money from affiliate products. And I'm like, you don't. So I will basically shoot a video, create like a couple bullet points and a caption, and actually show the results. So I'll show like my income and say like, compare that to like my follower count. Like it's disproving the myth, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I actually take the time to create the video. Maybe it takes me like 20 minutes,
Is
I
it
would
on
say
the
max.
phone that you do it?
Yeah, I use CapCut.
Okay.
And I use Airtable just to house all the ideas and stuff like that. And basically, what I do from that point on is where AI comes into play is I will actually, like, once when the video is all ready and uploaded to go, I will actually have an automation where it's like, I trigger it based on like me clicking a button and say like, oh, send it to my workflow. And basically that will bring back hashtags. So I use AI to bring hashtags to help with the description and the call to actions. So while I only have to actually create the video, I'm leveraging AI to actually do everything else. Like all the maintenance of like, oh, you need a hashtag, you need YouTube tags, all those things to help me save time. And then I'll use the second automation to actually take care of the publishing piece.
Are you reviewing the output before you hit the publish? Like, is that the pause, or why isn't it one long process?
So the reason why there is split is because the way that I have it is I'm trying to figure out how to say this without getting too in the weeds.
Try
Um,
it.
okay, so the way that I could say it is I have, let's just call this an Airtable record,
Okay.
right? I have this Airtable record. I write all my ideas down, and then I will, once when the idea is done, it's good for me to actually create the video. I upload the video, but the thing that sucks about CapCut is that when you upload a video, it does it in .move, like
Oh,
the
MOV. Yep.
the
Yeah.
iMovie.
Yeah.
And what sucks about that is that you cannot take that file and
Ah,
automatically push it to YouTube or
it
any of
has
these
to be
platforms because
reformatted.
yes, it has to be reformatted to MP4, right? And so what I do is when it's ready to go and it's uploaded, it starts the trigger where I say, can you convert this? And I use Cloud Convert, I
Cloud
believe,
Convert. Yep.
to actually automate the conversion file, upload it back into Airtable. And also, since I already, I'm taking advantage of this workflow, I basically ask AI to generate the hashtags, generate the descriptions to put it back into the Airtable record. And then this is the second automation that I'm working on, where basically I have a grid, like a view in Airtable where it's filtered down to only show, let's just say, today's scheduled content, right?
Uh-huh.
And so while I manually like upload all the videos, I batch all my content, I just like put a schedule and then just drag it down. I'm like, okay, it goes every single day. But where this view is coming into place in Airtable is I have the view, and then essentially that filter again is only show, the records that have today's date.
Yeah.
And so when a record actually enters that view in Airtable, it triggers the second workflow to automatically post to all these different social media platforms. So
Geeky,
that's
and
why
I
I'm
love it.
separating it.
Yeah. Okay. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. And for those of you listening, you could take that point of separation to actually review the output, just keep human in the loop if you wanted to, right?
Yeah.
Tina knows the source of it because she's creating it. So it's a little different. So how far can you take this? So now you've got this video that you shot. The video is now being scheduled and posted. Are you creating any text? Are you using the transcript in any capacity to create anything?
So I have not actually, like, I know OpenAI, I believe they have like an action where you could use, like, I believe Whisper to do the transcript and everything. I haven't tested it out, to be honest, because
this is not what you do.
No, but I will say there is another tool that I use that leverages AI to do it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of insights to another automation, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I actually create YouTube videos. And so I send it to an editor to do some light editing for me. But then I actually upload the video to Wisecut AI. It's a AI video editing platform. It's actually pretty good. It's a good starting point, but like I used to use it for actually AI video editing, but now I just use it as like a trigger for my workflow. But basically what happens is when the video is ready, it actually sends me an email holding where you can download the subtitles, download the actual file itself, and download, all the clips and everything like that. And so it's actually embedded into the email. And so Wisecut AI will already take the transcripts and create the transcripts for me using their platform. And so because it is sending it to me by email, I actually have an automation on the back end where it basically, like, if I get an email from Wisecut and it says certain key terms in it, then it will auto forward it to my Zapier automation, where my automation will extract the MP4 file.
Yes.
It will extract the subtitles and all that stuff. And then I use the subtitles generated to create the video description, to do auto chapters, to do the YouTube tags. So like when I tell you, like, I love automation, like I really love to do all this.
I'm geeking out big time on this. This is awesome. So folks listening, certainly there's some tool skill required, but the real skill that Tina has is being able to visualize what needs to happen. Oh, I can do this and I can do that. So for those of you out there who are listening to this that maybe you got lost, here's what I can tell you. doesn't matter what the tool is. You can find somebody on Upwork. It matters how you architect or map out the steps. And what Tina has, the reason she's been able to get these results is because she's thinking in that manner. She's mapping out and then this needs, if this goes here, then that can happen. And that's the real skill here. AI certainly is, making all that possible. Now, let me ask you a question about the impact that this has had on your ability to create more time, create more revenue, create more enjoyment. Like, it seems like you're able to do the work of a lot of people once you build these things. How many people, like if you were going to do it the old way, have you thought how many people you'd need to be able to match the production?
Oh my God. I think
or the cost?
My profitability would be significantly lower. Let's just say that, because the biggest cost in any business is labor, right? And so even like hiring like a video editor and doing all these things of like actually sitting down to like write a freaking caption, like that is hours that I'm probably paying someone to do that. And what's funny is like I had a previous business, a coaching business, before I actually switched over to content creation. And I actually had like a team of 2 virtual assistants do all that work. And like from a perspective of like, I hated being a manager because I didn't like it. I don't like, at the end of the day, like I just need you to do what you need to do. I don't want to go into the politics of everything.
Yeah.
But I also didn't love that, like, oh my God, like I'm waiting on like human potential to kind of do this.
Zones.
And like, like the time zones, but also like what I really love about AI is it's doing the thinking for you, right? Like humans, like I'm not saying like replace AI with all your thinking, right? It needs guidance, it needs guardrails, but the fact that like I don't have to pay someone hourly to like think through these things and like I can get it like at least a response within seconds, like is truly great. And I'm a big believer in like investing and thinking about the highest return on time. So even when I'm thinking of the strategies that I'm using to grow my business, like I always think from the perspective of like, how much time is it going to cost me? Like, I don't really care about investment because you can always make more money, but you can never get more time back.
Yeah.
And so like, since I've implemented AI, it's reduced the time it takes for me to get things done in my business. But like, I've like truly reduced the amount of hours. And like, I recently hired someone to like an assistant to help me with like other things in my business. So I would say like with AI and automations combined together, I have really automated 80% of the business. Now with the assistant that I just hired, she takes care of like, I would say the rest of the 15%. And now what it's allowing me to do is like, I'm actually in an interesting position now where I'm actually thinking strategically about the business without being in it, which is what I love.
Yeah.
And it allows me to think about how am I going to make more money? How am I going to do these?
Yeah.
And things high level.
Now that's an important, it's not just about the money you're saving. It's the fact that you now have bandwidth. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And strategy is something, I don't know if you're familiar with the Eisenhower matrix, but it's one of those things that it's not urgent, right? It's not a fire that you need to fight, but if you don't commit to it, you don't see the impact over the long term from that effort. And most entrepreneurs are fighting fires all the time. They're not able to spend that time strategically. So 100%.
And one thing that I think is important to mention is that like, it took me, like, I've had this content business for about 3 years. I didn't hire an assistant, until this time, like comparing to the time of this recording, like until like last week. And the only reason why I did it was because I just want to create capacity to do other things in my life. And in my personal life, I have a lot of other ventures and endeavors that I work on. And like, truly, like if I didn't have all those other things going on in my life, like I could just keep pushing like with this AI and automation and just truly be a 1-person team.
Yeah.
But like it saved me 3 years worth of labor expenses because I didn't have to do it. I only chose to do it because I wanted to do it.
Sure. Yeah. And we got listeners out there. Some want to stay in the boardroom and direct the strategy. But a lot of them do want to tinker with, they want to build, they want to know how to configure all this kind of stuff. So you mentioned a couple of tools. You mentioned Zapier and Make. Are there any other? And you mentioned, are you using them? Are you having Zapier call to Make for some functions and back and forth?
For me, actually, I use Airtable. Airtable
Got
is
it.
pretty much a lot of triggers for everything.
Got it.
And so Airtable, I would say like my main tech stack is Zapier and Airtable. Make is more recent because it has certain action steps that I cannot do in Zapier. I also use Pably as well to do certain action steps that make
What's that
or
one?
Zapier. Pably Connect. It's a different automation platform, similar thing, but it's also another platform that has certain action steps that Zapier make and those platforms don't have. So like I tend to do a lot of research. And so if one platform doesn't have something, then I'll go to a different platform. But the way that I'm able to leverage all of it is because I'm using Airtable as a trigger.
Got it.
And Airtable is an app that pretty much all these platforms have access to.
So that's kind of the conductor.
Yeah, I would say
Yes.
Airtable is the conductor.
Very cool. So do you, as part of your product catalog, are services something that you do?
So that's a fun fact. So for me, I kind of created this business originally. So for context, I originally used to have a coaching business and I had clients. And since I transitioned to content, I don't necessarily take any clients anymore.
Mhm.
However, I take clients, I would say, on an invite basis in the sense of like only if people genuinely reach out to me and they like, first of all, like the premium to work with me to actually set it up with you is a high bar
Yeah.
because I value my time so much.
Yeah.
And also like my other revenue streams are digital products, affiliate products, and newsletter referrals, all these different other revenue streams that are so much more passive.
Yeah.
So I would say like, yes, I'm open to it, but it's not the number
It's
one
got to be a
driver of
cherry
my
project.
business.
So
Yeah.
For those who are listening who aren't inclined to necessarily get in the weeds on process identification and that sort of thing, what would you recommend to them if they wanted to explore the introduction of some of these AI-powered processes into their business?
So if you are someone, I think this can really apply to everybody else, like anyone is, especially if you are in this day and age of being on social media. But the simplest thing that I actually have is my $9 daily content generator. That is like the one thing where like it's the $9 workflow.
You sell that workflow for $9.
I do sell the workflow for $9.
Whoa,
And
okay.
I know. It's kind of crazy.
Okay.
But hear me out. Like hear me out why I did it. And I think this is probably going to give some insights of who I am as a person. So when I created this workflow in my business about 2 years ago, about maybe a year ago, I actually was very quiet in terms of like, I don't like to tell a lot of people from the technical side because I think it could be confusing, especially if you're not familiar. And so for the longest time, I had this automation in my business and I have a lot of creator friends who don't have this. And they kept telling me like, Tina, please sell it. And I said no. Like I kept saying no for about a year because I was really afraid of like the technical aspect of people are going to be like, I just don't really want to deal with like people coming to me and like saying like, it doesn't work. Like I was afraid of that. And then it was a point where one of my friends said, she's like, I'm genuinely burnt out. Like I cannot do this anymore. And that's when I kind of realized like I have two missions in life. One is to help businesses create generational wealth. And the second piece is to help those same business owners actually have the time to enjoy that wealth, right?
Beautiful.
And so this is the second piece, right? Where I kind of realized when she told me this and she said, she's like, I just can't keep going anymore. And I was like, now you're pulling at me at my heartstrings. Like, it's not even about like the money for me. It's not even about like the technical or my fears. It's truly just like, I want to help this person, especially like since creator burnout is so large, I decided to pre-sell this product because I'm not going to create anything if nobody buys it, first of all. So I pre-sold it for $9 and my goal was 10 students. And I was like, okay, like I usually give a pre-sale period about 1 to 2 months. And, basically within the weekend, I got the 10 students and I was like, all right, maybe this is just an accident. So gave it another week, 20 students came in. And then by the time the pre-sale period was over, I actually ended the pre-sale period earlier. Over 40 students got the pre-sale. And I was like, oh my God,
good for
people
you.
really,
Yeah.
thank you. Like people really need this. People
Yeah.
really want this. And so I was like, all right. So like I actually sat down, created all the SOPs, all the documentation, everything like it, created a very simple sales page. And right now, I think we're at 120 students so far.
Nice.
Since
Well, you're
we
about to have 121. I'm going to sign up as soon as we're done with this.
And so the thing is like I just kind of like my mission again, like that second piece of giving people back their time to enjoy that wealth. Like that is why I created this. Is like it's not a play of like, oh, she's just trying to make a ton of money. Like, yeah, like I make money like from it, like, but it's $9, right?
Yeah.
And that's like a cup of coffee for me, depending on where you're at in the world.
Yeah.
But like that, just the pure results that some of these students have come back to me. Like I had an author, a young author, and she's like, Tina, like, do you realize like how much labor you're saving me? She's like, I was planning on projecting to spend maybe like $1,000 to $2,000 a month in just like labor costs of hiring freelancers. And she's like, the fact that we can do this now on $80 a month, which is like truly a huge like time and
that's
money
AI,
save.
baby. Yep, I love it.
So that's what I live for.
That's great. And so, folks, we're going to have for sure, Tina, if you would provide me the link so we can put that in the show notes, because that's an unbelievable deal. And this is the thing. I love seeing this because you don't have to go learn it to get the benefit from it. You, the listener, don't have to go learn Make, Zapier, or architecture of this stuff at all to get the benefit from it. And for $9, the amount of time it took Tina to build it and refine it over the course of that year or two that before she released it to the public, like you're paying her $9 for 2 years of her tinkering and calibration and everything. So that's an unbelievable deal. It's obvious she knows what she's talking about when it comes to, this no code environment of automations and AI and optimization and acceleration and all that good stuff. So if you don't mind, Tina, I'm going to put it in the show notes for sure, but do you mind sharing that URL? Where can people go to find that?
So the simplest way I would say is you can actually, so when you join my newsletter at creatorsclub.tinalopez.com, you will get opted into my newsletter where I will send you, 1 to 3 resources to help you automate your content traffic and income as a creator.
Nice.
What happens after that is you'll automatically get promoted or pushed to the to the sales page of the daily content generator. It's $9, like I said, and I would say a lot of people have bought it from that flow.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm going to be heading there. I'm not kidding after this because we've invested a lot of time. Like we've got limited bandwidth as a startup, and we've invested a lot of bandwidth into understanding how automations amplify the use of AI. Right. And we've had some crazy wins. And I know how much goes in to creating what you just explained to everybody. I personally, I'm watching my team do this stuff, and for them to be able to have access to this, this afternoon and have content going out same day or whatever, it's pretty. That's why I love doing this podcast. So if somebody did want to geek out and wants to say, like, if they're the engineer type, they're wired to do this stuff. Who do you trust that's teaching clever automations that are effective?
That's actually a very hard ask for me because I don't follow anyone, which is weird because it's ironic as a creator, but because I have automations, I really don't go on any type of social media platform just for my mental health. Yeah, I know. AI and automations like allowed me really to unplug. And since I hired an assistant, I really don't check anything now. So actually, like, I don't know, I would say follow me, but like truly just like you mentioned, that skill of like creativity, like that, it really comes from a pain point for me where it's like the fact that if I have to do things more than 3 times and it's the exact same activity, then I start asking myself the question of like, can I use AI and automation to do it for me? Because I just don't want to do it. Yeah. Because for lack of better words, it's not lazy, but like I just like to be leveraged more with my time.
Perfectly said. Yep, absolutely. And these automations allow for a limitless leverage. Well, this has been fantastic, Tina. So what channel or what social platforms should people be looking for you on where you kind of post the most?
So the best channel is actually, like I said, the creatorsclub.tinalopez.com. That is our newsletter. That's where I really spend majority of my time. But if you are someone who, wants to scope me out, I totally get it. You can go to lifewithtina.medium.com. That's my Medium blog where I talk a lot about automations, how to make money as a creator, things like that, how to build an automated creator business. That's kind of like my main thing, my main jam.
So I'm typing in the URL right now. I'm actually going to go. I wasn't kidding. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Tina. Thank you so much. And I really, really pleasantly surprised with this $9 daily content creator. It's pretty legit. In closing, I don't know, is anything you want to share with folks if they've got some, intimidation or if anybody's out there saying, oh, this isn't for me. Because I know you don't have that tech background and you've been able to do some amazing things.
One thing I would say is really don't think about what the tech can do. Because I feel like if you start thinking about what the tech can do, you limit yourself to only the technology that's available. I would say really start with what are the pain points that you're experiencing? What are the use cases that you're having? And the reason why I say this is because for me to build this automated creator business, like I said, it took me 3 years to build this. And it isn't until now that I'm actually even speaking about it on this podcast. The reason why I say let your creativity be the starting point is because when I created this business, I didn't have a coach. I didn't have any course. There was no one out there because I don't think anyone's doing what I'm doing, truthfully. And I just had to kind of figure it out. And so I think Google is your best friend. YouTube is my second best friend.
Yep.
And I just start Googling where I start looking at use cases of what is there an API document that I can use to schedule to TikTok via Zapier? Can I use a webhook? Can I use anything else? And then that just kind of gets you on the rabbit hole. But then another pro tip that I have is I actually like to draw workflows on a piece of paper to actually think about how everything's going to play out before I actually do the technical of building it.
Yep. No, that's the same framework we follow internally, but that's great advice. Hey, okay, everybody. So thank you so much for taking the time today, Tina, and everybody. We'll have the resources in the show notes, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to Using AI at Work. Don't forget to subscribe for more conversations about how to use AI at work. And a special thank you to our sponsor, Chief AI Officer, for empowering businesses with AI education and training. Visit their website for a free AI readiness assessment and AI strategy guide to help you get started using AI at work. That's www.chiefaiofficer.com. Special thanks to our producer, Evan DeSaulnier, for making this episode possible. Follow us on Twitter at the handle Using AI at Work, and visit www.usingaiatwork.com for free resources to help you harness AI in your role.